So, we are in session 3. We're talking about following Christ's example. And in the first 2 sessions, we looked at working together as a team and understanding, appreciating, and honoring each other's differences, if there is such a thing. You know, appreciating, honoring, understanding differences, that in and of itself is kind of a task. So, a lot of things go in with that in order to be able to do that. Imagine if we were able to put forth some of these great qualities. I'm going to give you a list real quick. Think about which qualities would be beneficial to your relationship and which qualities would be non-beneficial. I'm going to come back and ask you which one stands out in your mind. Honest, intelligent, diplomatic, loving, risk-taker, self-confident, flexible, motivated, humble, compassionate, innovative, dependable, extroverted, outspoken, decisive, patient, articulate, persuasive, optimistic, loyal, likable, goal-oriented, courageous, and forgiving. So tell me what stood out in your head as one of the traits that would be beneficial to your relationship. Yes?
Forgiving.
Forgiving. What else? Somebody else. Honesty. Understanding. Patience. Dependable. What? One more time. Diplomatic. Anybody else from over here? Compassionate.
Be humble.
Humble. Any of those were negatives towards your relationship? Anybody stand out? Any one of them stand out to you as being negative?
Can you say them again?
No. Well, the idea was is for something to click in your head as I'm saying them to say, hey, that'd be a negative or a positive. Yes. Outspoken would be a negative. Okay. What about persuasive? Do you look at that as being negative? Yes. What if it was persuasive in a good way? What if you were the kind of person that really never liked to take risk, and of course risk taker is one of those words as well. What if you were not one of those people and your spouse was so convinced that this was a great move and you just couldn't see the writing on the wall and you were just being so stubborn about it and they were trying to be persuasive in your own benefit, right? It's kind of like, okay, there's a fire. I'm not jumping out of that window, okay, but it's only one story. If you break a leg, it's better than burning up to death. No, I'm not jumping out of the window. Would you want me to be persuasive to get you to jump out of the window, or would you want me to just say, all right, later? Which one would you rather me be?
Persuasive.
You'd be like, later, right? No, you want me to be persuasive because I have your best interest at heart. So, I'm not saying that all of these words can go either way, but what I am saying is persuasive can be perceived as a negative, but in reality it can be used in a very positive way. The same thing, self-confident. Well, there's a difference between self-confident and being cocky, right? You can be self-confident. You should be confident about the things that you are good at, but don't be so self-confident that you are obnoxious, right? So that can be both ways. Anything else? No? Didn't stand out? If you look at being called to serve, Mark 10:45 says, for even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve others and to give his life as a ransom for many. In this session today, we're going to examine foundational teamwork principle, and that principle was illustrated by some surprising actions and words from Jesus. So, if you go back and look at that scripture again, even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve others and to give his life as a ransom for so many. Jesus was the ultimate depiction of selflessness. It was all not about him. It was about everybody else. I know that ain't even close to how it is today. And there's no shame in your game. It's just how our society is. But we strive, ultimately, to be able to be a selfless person, willing to love others as much, if not more, than our own selves. Love our neighbors. And despite disputes, difference of opinions, different colors, different backgrounds, different whatever, we're called to love one another and coexist. Bottom line is, if we don't learn how to coexist, we're going down a very dark and lonely road. And that's evident if you look at the news in other areas. So that call to be selfless and to serve others, it's really hard to serve people when you feel like you're being taken advantage of. Wouldn't you agree? Anybody ever heard that expression, give a finger, take a hand? Right? Or if you have somebody that, it just seems like, and family is like sometimes the worst offenders. They don't call you, they don't talk to you or anything out, but if they found out you inherited some money, because what's up? We haven't talked in a long time. We should get together. For what? For you to ask me for money? Or if all of a sudden you got an RV, can I borrow it, bro? No, you can't borrow it, fool. People are selfish. People are looking out, I'm going to get mine. And I understand. We all want to get ahead. We all want to have nice things. But if you look at Jesus, which we should be, Jesus wasn't into all that. Jesus was into, hey, I'm here for a purpose and that's to serve other people. Now I know it's really difficult to wrap your head around the fact that I cannot devote myself 24/7 to working for other people. I got a family to feed, I got responsibilities, yes, times are different. Principle is the same. The principle never changes. The way that you do it, it's kind of like this. There's certain, I'll just share this. It's like, being able to present the gospel to people, being able to share Jesus Christ with people, that's never changed. We've been called to share the gospel. We're supposed to spread the good news of Jesus Christ. And when it happened in biblical times, it was done in a very different setting, in a very different way. And today, that message is the same, but if you ask my personal opinion, I would tell you that the way that it's presented needs to be done differently. Because we are different than the people that existed back then. It's kind of like a company that does marketing. If Coca-Cola was doing the same marketing that they did when they first started the company, they would not be Coca-Cola anymore. They would have been bought out by somebody else. They had to change their marketing strategy as time progressed. And I'm a firm believer in give the people what they need. Exactly. But do it in a way they want. Because you're much more willing to accept something if it's given to you in the way that you want, as opposed to something being shoved down your throat. Would you agree with me?
Yes.
All right.
I want to apply that to marriage. Sometimes you have to change the way that you're communicating with your spouse, because the same thing applies. What works for the other family down the street and how they communicate in their approach may not work for your family. So it doesn't change even in our home. We all have a different way that you can get something across so that you get the results that you want. If you are lacking in a certain area, and if what you're doing is not creating the result that we want, then maybe we need to ask God to show us, how can I get my spouse to hear my heart and hear what I'm trying to say? And He will show you, because ultimately we're looking for the result, and we can't be so caught up in the way that we want to deliver the message when it doesn't work or it's not making a difference in your home. So that's something, and it applies to the children too. We want results.
Use the example of what we went through yesterday morning when we were talking, and you got really upset over the fact that you thought that.
Yeah, I was talking to him.
Well, no, it's not
learned in here is beneficial because we apply it to our marriage.
But we were able to go deeper in conversation,
Oh, we went to like the third and fourth level?
and I was able to explain myself, then your understanding completely changed.
Yes, the understanding changed because we were communicating, we were communicating at a level 1, and I guess I wanted to go into that 3 and 4, which we learned about in here. So, once we got that out of the way, we were able to have a really nice day and then move on with our day. And that was really cool.
All right, look at John 13:1. It says, before the Passover celebration, Jesus knew that his hour had come to leave this world and return to his Father. He had loved his disciples during his ministry on earth, and now he loved them to the very end. It was time for supper, and the devil had already prompted Judas, son of Simeon Iscariot, to betray Jesus. Jesus knew that the Father had given him authority over everything, and that he had come from God and would return to God. So he got up from the table, took off his robe, wrapped a towel around his waist, and poured water into a basin. Then he began to wash the disciples' feet, drying them with the towel he had around them. When Jesus came to Simon Peter, Peter said to him, Lord, are you going to wash my feet? And Jesus replied, you don't understand now what I'm doing, but someday you will. And no, Peter protested, you will never ever wash my feet. Jesus replied, unless I wash you, you won't belong to me. Simon Peter explained, then wash my hands and head as well, Lord, not just my feet. Jesus replied, a person who has bathed all over does not need to wash except for the feet to be entirely clean. And you disciples are clean, but not all of you. For Jesus knew who would betray him. And this is what he meant when he said, not all of you are clean. After washing their feet, he put on his robe again and sat down and asked, do you understand what I was doing? You call me teacher and Lord, and you're right, because that's what I am. And since I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you ought to wash each other's feet. I've given you an example to follow. Do as I have done to you. I tell you the truth, slaves are not greater than their master, nor is the messenger more important than the one who sends the message. Now that you know these things, God will bless you for doing them. So what was Jesus trying to teach the disciples? Yes?
You can't be a good leader if you're not willing to put yourself out and serve others, and you want them to serve you as well and to serve others.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes?
I think Jesus was showing them to have a servant's heart
Okay.
for later.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes?
Compassion.
Showing them compassion? Okay. Anybody else? Yes?
We are all equal when it comes to being in God's sight, and we should treat each other like we want to be treated, because that's what Jesus was doing, treating everybody the same, blessing everybody the same.
Okay.
Oh, but I think, let's not begin today. I think he was trying to set a new example to what was happening in that day with the Pharisees and the religious institution of the day. They were served, they were admired, they were looked at as if they were amazing. And I think he was trying to set the foundation for Christianity to where he was trying to kind of restructure, I don't know if that's the right word, but kind of explain to them or get in their heads of how faith should be done.
Okay. Yes?
I think he's too showing them that he's not better than them, that we are all together on one level, we should not think we one person better than the other.
Right. Yes?
I think he's teaching them not to be proud,
Not big.
not to be proud.
Right. You know, if you look, did you have some, do as to others as you would have them done to you. You know, let's look at it from the business world standpoint. If you are in business and you have a boss that just loves to bark orders, do this, 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 and their way is better than your way regardless of what, and you've never seen them do that, your respect level for them is not all probably right there. But if that same boss, instead of barking orders at you, shows you, hey, I got a better way of doing this, not willing, they're not afraid to be willing to get there and do that with you or by themselves. You know, you can't expect people to do something that you're not willing to do yourself. Does that kind of put that in perspective for you? So I think by just my opinion, I think that Jesus was showing them, look, I'm not worried about being willing to get down, wash your feet, put myself as equal as a servant as I'm asking you to do for everybody else. And that's really, sometimes that's a humbling experience. First of all, feet are nasty, period, you know. And you can imagine back then, they were seriously nasty, okay? They didn't have showers, they didn't have foot scrubbers, they didn't have loofahs, they didn't have, you know. So you can imagine Jesus going to wash the feet of the disciples, you know, it's like, oh my goodness. So, but he did it without hesitation because he wanted to show them that he was willing to do that. Why do you think that Peter was so resistant to Jesus' actions? Because he didn't feel worthy?
You always thought that maybe it's higher, you know, it's like somebody higher like my boss. I'm trying, you know, for him to do something, but to do something for him. Maybe that was the way you felt.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes.
I think he wanted to show how humble he was.
That's it. Yeah.
You want to show,
Yeah.
okay? You want to show him how humble he was. Anybody else? No? Yes?
I think he didn't understand what Jesus is teaching at the time.
No.
He did not understand.
I think you're right. I think he wasn't aware of what the lesson was, and he was trying to show himself as being humble. And when he understood, then it was like, okay, now I get it. But then he wanted this whole body washed, you know. Here's the loofah. We went back, you know. It's like, but that's not what it was all about, right? Then all of a sudden it was like, okay, now then let me do your feet, right? So it varies. So if you think back and look at the way that Jesus was a leader and his style of leadership, how would you describe it? How's foot washing illustrative of how Jesus led?
By example.
By example?
Showing that we're serve others instead of putting ourselves first.
Serving others instead of putting ourselves first? Anybody else?
How about, I believe that it starts in our home, and obviously this is applied to marriage. We're applying this to everything, because it applies to everything. But how can a husband, you know, the husbands are called to lay down their lives as Jesus did for the church and love her. So this is a perfect example of true leadership, serving each other at home, not thinking you're better than the other, not thinking that because I'm the man, you have to honor me, or in some cases, I'm the woman, you know, I know, you know, there has to be that love, that mutual servanthood with each other at home.
Okay. Anybody else? No? So, can you think of some way or somehow that someone served you in a way that surprised you? And if so, what was your reaction to that? Frank?
Well, this happened just recently. Somebody offered to give me a pedicure, which I've never had, and they're getting harder to reach now. And they gave me a pedicure, just, you know, and it was great, and I was blessed.
Okay. Anybody else? No? Yes.
Okay, if he washed my feet, came home from ministry, and like a couple of days later, like, hey, man,
Speak up.
okay. Started that one, of course, I thought, you know, bring it back.
surprised you? Yes. Offer
I
to
know
take,
it's something little, but it makes a big difference when you're like gonna go out and I wanna go for them, everybody, and he's very going, since like you're all thinkers too. It's a little thing.
yeah, sometimes the little things are the best things. Very true. Anybody else?
I have one.
Go ahead.
I was at work and I was working slow, so my manager, like one of the main managers, started helping me. So that's like kind of like what Jesus is doing with me.
Okay. So nobody else, huh? Of all the people sitting in here, you've never been surprised in a way that someone served you. That's interesting. Maybe that's something that we need to work on or be more cognizant of. Yes.
Just a friend of a friend got us into Disneyland. We weren't even looking to go as soon as we went with business. That was cool.
Okay. Oh, now. all of a sudden. Yes.
My baby shower, one of my really great friends, went way beyond what I expected, and not only did she go beyond, but somebody that barely even knows me went beyond and made the baby shower, not because everything that was there was so awesome, but because there was so much love being showered over me and my baby that it just blew me away.
Awesome. Frank.
My wife Sylvia, I mean, you know, she blessed me. You know, when I got married, not really expecting a whole lot, but she did a whole lot.
Okay. And that's the one that keeps on giving. Anybody else? Yes.
When Bill and I were to be married, there were two ladies in my Bible group stepped up to me and said, "We'll take care of your reception, Shirley, just tell us what colors you want." And I never had to go anywhere or do anything. They did everything that was presented at that wedding was done by two ladies that I didn't ask, they asked me if they could serve me that way.
Kind of makes
That
it
was
nice.
big time.
That's awesome. All right, look at Mark 9:33. It says, after they arrived in Capernaum and settled in a house, Jesus asked his disciples, "What were you discussing out on the road?" But they didn't answer because they had been arguing about which of them was the greatest. He sat down, called the 12 disciples over to him and said, "Whoever wants to be the first must take last place and be the servant of everyone else." Matthew 20. But Jesus called them together and said, "You know that the rulers in this world lord it over their people, and officials flaunt their authority over those under them. But among you it will be different. Whoever wants to be a leader among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first among you must become your slave. For even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve others, and to give his life as a ransom for many." You know, that's the big thing. And again, I'll relate it to the business world just because it's so much easier to work for somebody that doesn't bark at you, that doesn't throw orders at you, that works with you. You know, I would rather be the kind of person that says I work with somebody than say I work for somebody. And at the same time, I would rather have the person that I work with say, "Well, all of these people work for me." No, we all work together because you're only as good as the people that you're surrounded by. That goes in life, that goes in church, that goes in ministry, that goes in business, that goes in everything. So your attitude towards your co-workers, your co-laborers in Christ, your co-friends, your co-dependents, okay, all depends on your attitude towards them. And if you look at them as, "I'm going to get mine, I'm going to do whatever's best for me," as opposed to looking out for what's best for the whole, hopefully it's being responded to that. Because if it doesn't get responded to that, then that's where the attitude starts becoming, then I'm going to look out for me. Because looking out for the whole doesn't get perceived the way that it's supposed to, doesn't get reciprocated. You know, it's really hard. It's just like look at your relationship. It's really hard to keep giving and giving and giving and giving and giving when the other person doesn't give anything back. And that's when your frustration levels reach demonic demonstrative levels. You know, that's when your attitude or of trying starts to diminish because you say, at what point? Well, the idea is not to give up. The idea is to keep trying. Because even God says, keep knocking, keep asking, keep praying. You know, same thing would hold true in your relationship. Did I get to you, Crystal? Were you wiping away a tear? Did he pinch you? Oh, it's just wind. I'm going with I made you cry. So you have to keep working at those things. You know. Do you agree with that? Yeah. Are y'all just partied out from the weekend or what?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay. So, in what way is Christ's description of a leader different from the way today's world describes a leader? Yes.
How you're driven or what drives you.
Okay.
We're driven by a lot, like what you said earlier, what your responsibilities. We're driven by things that are way different than what was happening in Jesus on here.
Okay. Lucia?
I see that today leadership people think highly of themselves and they think that they can rule over others. And Christ's way of leadership was, in order to be in leadership, you're not really leading, yes, but you're really serving and putting everyone else before you, making them a priority and working along with them and not like ruling over them.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes.
It's more like a dictatorship. Like if you're a leader, you're gonna sit there and you're gonna tell everybody what to do and not do it yourself.
Okay. So, yes.
I think the difference is that today's and Jesus' kind of teaching is when the people working together equally, nobody can push them to do the stuff, whatever they need. Nowadays, the government or the top person pushing, but that person is not willing to do their job, but he pushed to do it. So the work we do is not right.
Okay. And let me put in my 2 cents. My 2 cents would be this. Today's leader motivates by fear, motivates by money, motivates by anger, motivates by dictatorship, where intimidation, whereas Christ's leadership motivated by love, motivated by compassion, motivated by encouragement, motivated by, see the differences?
Yes.
And can you imagine if your boss had a Jesus mentality and encouraged you by compassion, by love, by encouragement, by everything else? Instead of walking in and going, you know, any monkey could do that. I don't know why I'm paying you to do it. Okay, never mind.
But let's turn the spectrum a little bit here. We're talking, what about the consumer that's disrespectful, has these expectations that they think they're better, and they enter into an establishment, and they start making demands, and it's not right. You know, we have to look at that too. You get more with honey than you do with vinegar, and it applies to the other side as well. You know, you don't want to insult somebody's intelligence, no matter what side you're on. So that applies to that aspect as well. So even if you are the one that is serving under a leadership, you know, you have to have the attitude of being that excellent servant as well, and not having entitlement that, well, he didn't ask me nicely, so I'm not going to do it either. Because ultimately, everything that you do, you're called to do to the best of your ability. Everything. The Bible says that everything we do it unto the Lord. So no matter what side you're on, the scripture says, you know, whether you're a slave or the other, you do everything unto the Lord with excellence.
Well, and the consumer aspect of it that you're talking about, and the ones that don't do everything unto the Lord, they're going to hell. You know, there's just no way. I'm kidding. Wake up. Wake up. Okay? Yes.
The movie The Gladiator, there's a scene in there where the opening
Is
scene.
that a Christian movie, Frank? Is that a Christian movie? No, I'm just curious.
Right before the battle, he goes up and he touches his soldiers. And then he walks up and he picks up a thing of dirt and smells it. That's real significant. Then he gets on his horse and his dog. If you notice, his dog is looking at him when he's running. And he's the leader of the pack. He was willing to die first. And that's the way the Lord was. He died for us. And if you're following somebody, leaders have to lead through respect, and you will be able to follow them into battle. But there's a lot of leaders out there that lead, like you're saying, intimidation, fear. They're not worthy to be leaders. So you have to be able to follow your leader into battle, and that then you know you're following the leader.
Very good point. Very good point. So, what do you think are some ways that Christ's example of servanthood can be practiced in your marriage? Yes.
Basically, in our marriage, we need to be the servant to our spouse or mate, lift them up,
Okay.
encourage them, and let them know they're special.
What else? There. Y'all are not with me.
So we're saying basically from all of the information that we received that the leader in the home should lead with love, compassion, respect. It should not be done with intimidation, with fear, it should be done the way that Jesus did.
Right. That's the best thing I can do. If you look on your next page, it's talking about being called to humility. Philippians 2:1-8 says, "Is there any encouragement from belonging to Christ? Any comfort from his love? Any fellowship together in the Spirit? Are your hearts tender and compassionate? Make me truly happy by agreeing wholeheartedly with each other, loving one another, and working together with one mind and purpose. Don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others. Be humble, thinking of others as better than yourselves. Don't look out only for your own interests, but take an interest in others too. You must have the same attitude that Christ Jesus had. Though he was God, he did not think of equality with God as something to cling to. Instead, he gave up his divine privileges. He took the humble position of a slave and was born as a human being. And when he appeared in human form, he humbled himself in obedience to God and died a criminal's death on a cross." If you look at that scripture, Paul talks about the theme of servanthood and how the actions described in that verse reflect the kind of servanthood Jesus modeled. Well, Jesus wasn't selfish. Jesus wasn't trying to impress other people. Jesus was humble. He thought of others as better than themselves. He definitely wasn't looking out for his own interests. He was looking out for the interests of people because he knew what his calling was. He knew what purpose he was to serve. If you went into a work environment and they said, "You know what, Reuben, you're hired. We're going to hire you. Just figure it out. All right? We'll see you on Friday." You really have no direction. But when you have purpose, when you know exactly, clearly define what your purpose is, then your whole mindset towards achieving that purpose, or working towards that purpose, or working in that purpose, takes on a whole new meaning. So what's your purpose as a husband? What's your purpose as a wife? What's your purpose as a couple? As a parent? As a Christian? Those are all clearly defined roles with, as you will, job descriptions And those should be things that you strive for. Those should be things that you work for or work towards, because they are clearly defined roles. Once you start bringing in your own, but I think this is the way, okay, listen, you don't argue through the ages, you know? If that's the way that it was said and breathed and written by God, anybody here want to argue with God? It's a losing proposition, you know? I know we're not happy sometimes with either what we hear or what we say or what we come to know, but ultimately God knows a whole lot better than we do. His timing is a whole lot better than our timing. His knowledge far surpasses our knowledge. His wisdom far surpasses our wisdom. And we have a promise that he wants us to have a good life. I know some of you are sitting there and going, really? He wants us to have a good life.
Amen.
Here I am, PA, living the dream. Living the dream. Can't make my rent. Can't do this. I don't know what the answer is. I know who does. I don't know what the reasons are, but I know who does. You know, there's a lot of things, and let me tell you something. We know, you can say, money doesn't take care of all the problems. I know it helps, but it doesn't take care of all the problems, because there's plenty of rich people that kill themselves because of loneliness, because of drugs, because of whatever the case may be. So money isn't the answer. Living in a big house isn't the answer. Driving a new car, that's not it. That's not the answer. You know? I mean, for me, I'm just telling my wife this, and I think I shared this with somebody else this morning. You know, 2 weeks ago, I think it was 2 weeks ago, tomorrow, I turned 50. And at 50, your mentality, I don't know, maybe it doesn't change. Maybe it does. But for me, I'm just kind of like, I want peace. That's what I want. I don't want to, I want peace. No, I want peace. Not P-I-E-C-E, I want P-E-A-C-E. I want to not have to worry about keeping up with the Joneses. I want to not have to worry about paying my property taxes. Now, does that come from winning the lottery? No. Does it mean that we make adjustments in our lives? Possibly. You know, but there's things that we have to realize. And for me, I just want to be, I come to that point in my life, it's like, man, I'm 50 years old. I am 50 years old.
You're still a kid.
And, well, praise God. But I feel like, how many more productive, really productive years am I going to have before I'm like, you know? And so,
But you notice how we're making plans now. We're not waiting to go out there so that we can catch other people off guard or be a burden on our children. We are making
oh no, I want to be a
preparations now.
burden on my children.
We're making preparations now. We're like, okay, this is where we are now. We need to start planning for that next, because that's responsible. That's what Christians do. We're supposed to plan. I understand sometimes life takes us by surprise and things happen. That's where God comes in. But when it's when you are an able and willing human being and Christian, God gives you advance notice so that you can plan, so that you can, have that. And I'm thankful for that because God has taught me that. I didn't always know this. So I'm very grateful that we're at 50, we're starting to think about, we need to start getting ready for when we're 60 or 55 or whatever the case may be.
So
And that's a message to the young people. That's a message to the young people because when you're 20, you need to start preparing for when you're 30. When you're 30, and with God's help, I understand life happens and situations happen. And that is something that I thank God for because he does not want his children to be caught off guard. When things do catch you off guard, that's why he's there, to help you, to rescue you, to go before you and go behind you. But, consider the little ants, the word says. So we are to make, to be intelligent in some of the things that we do. God because you're 50. I know.
That's what you heard.
Some people will think, yeah, but I know that's how it means.
No.
But that's the thing, it's like, we're 50,
Glitter, shoot.
we're 50, it's 50 years old, the last 20 years went by really fast. It could be a blink of an eye and we'll be 70. So we need to kind of look at that.
Yeah.
This is like.
I'm tired, man. I'm tired. Mike, you had your hand up.
Oh, I was going to say, I heard something on the radio the other day that I've heard many times before, but now that I've matured a little bit more, it just meant something a little different to me. And it was that a rich man is not the one who has the most, but the one that needs the least. And for me, that's put things in different perspective for
I
me.
think you posted that on Facebook.
Yeah, I think I did.
I think you did, because I linked it.
Yeah. But it just meant something different to me now that I've matured. So
That's very true. So, do you think that what happens in a marriage when you look only to your self-interest, is that beneficial to your marriage?
No.
If you have that I'm gonna get mine kind of attitude, it's not gonna benefit your marriage. You have to be looking out for the two of you.
Yeah.
The two became one.
Yeah.
If you are not one yet, you need to start working on it, because like Claudina said, time flies. We just, a couple of months ago, we celebrated 18 years, and she looked at me and she goes, I've been married to you for 18 years. I said, you don't sound happy about that. And she said, no, it's just, 18 years flew by. Or if we talk about another couple, and then after 15, 20 years, they get divorced, it's like, wait a second, they gave that person the best years of their life, and now they're like having to try to start over again. And it's like, when we got married, I was 31 years old. I was 31 years old. I'm 50. 50. Okay? Can you tell I don't like that number? I don't like it. Okay? But praise God, I'm a healthy 50, and I look like I'm 40. And, I probably act like I'm 30, but nonetheless, I'm young at heart, and it's just one of those things. You gotta have the other person's interest ahead of yours. And is there ways in your marriage that you can better practice Christ's example of servanthood? Of course there is. Servanthood is, I'm not saying go home and wash your spouse's feet. If you want to do that, that's fine. That's an ultimate act. But you gotta be like, if you want to practice servanthood is just like what they were saying. It could be grabbing your spouse's coffee cup. It could be taking out the trash. It could be whatever it is that you can make the other person's life a little bit easier. That's what servanthood is. You may not consider it being servanthood, but what you think as menial, the other person may think of as huge. I know that for my wife, one of her pet peeves is seeing the sink full of dishes. Or even worse, seeing the dishwasher full of clean stuff. So when that happens, I immediately go into action. I call Yaya, and I tell her. No, but I mean, if the sink needs to be done, you do it. If the trash needs to go out, you do it. There's nothing worse than if you have a dog and it goes to the bathroom in the house and you ignore it. Well, someone will get to it. And then, you come across a piece of dog food that's now petrified because it's been sitting there for 3 weeks and you think it's a rock, right?
Or how about the way that I served you, and I think that in my younger days, when the children were little, that this was just me, I'm not saying, but I remember taking care of your work. I take care of our catches. I take care of our carpet. That's how I was serving you, because I saw how hard you were working. So I made it a point to, and of course now that's caused us to have, everything lasts so long that everything's outdated because we take care of it, and that's okay. And that was my way of serving you, taking care of your hard work. Whatever I could, because I knew we didn't have the money to buy new stuff. So I tried to make things last.
So let's talk about meeting the needs of others. Part of serving your spouse is making a commitment to meet their needs. Everyone, say everyone, has needs, but some needs are of greater importance to women than they are to men, and vice versa. Women, what are some things that you believe are special needs that women have in their marriages? Yes.
Kind words.
Kind words.
To be appreciated when you take the effort to dress up and look your best.
Okay. All right. What else, ladies?
Amen.
What else? What's important? Y'all are afraid to talk in front of your men? No need?
Attention.
Attention?
Positive attention.
Positive attention? That's good. Emphasis on positive. What else? Come on, ladies. This is your opportunity right here. I'm going to pick on you then. Lucia. What are special needs that women have in their marriages?
Just that they listen to you when they're trying to instill your personality.
Be attentive. Okay, Kathy? Understanding. What else? Yes, Mrs. Romo.
Affection.
Affection. That's a lot to ask from someone. For real. What else? Jennifer, what's special for women?
Communication.
Communication. Okay. What else? Come on, Rebecca. What's a special need of women?
Knowing what they're expecting, like, I like knowing what he expects of me.
Hey, that's a really good answer. Knowing the expectations of your man, right? And then you can tell him, oh, your expectations are way too high. You expect way too much. All right? Men, what are some things that you believe are special needs that men have in their marriages? Yes.
Respect.
Respect. Who said naps? You will probably pay for that this afternoon when you're trying to take one. Yes, Eric. Eric. Say it. Say it. Say it.
He's going to say what I said.
What did you say?
I said sex.
Oh. Okay. Moving on. Yes.
She reminds me to take my meds.
Yes. Remind the other one to take their medications. That's truly a need in your relationship. Yes.
In mine and Monique's relationship, I've had to work on listening to her, stop thinking what I'm thinking and listen.
Your need.
Well, I'm getting to it.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, but I want that from her.
For her to listen to you.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. All right. What else? Jason. What is the special needs? They say special needs for a reason. Okay, I'm gonna let you think about that. I'm gonna come back to you. Yes. I was listening. What? Oh, just to be listened to, right? Okay. Yes.
To have her on your team and be behind you with whatever stupid decision.
You need her to be your cheerleader, right? And what outfit she wears is up to you. Right? Yes.
Affection.
Affection. That goes with, sex.
Yeah, no, but I mean,
Oh, I
as you
know.
get older, there's more.
Yes. I want to be romanticized and then have sex. Yes. No, not me. I'm just saying.
Whatever.
That came out.
That clip right there
That-
is going to be on YouTube and somebody's going to take it.
All right.
It'll go viral.
That's fine with me. Let it go viral. All right. What else? Men. Frank. Well, let's just pick one.
Somebody said that she's on the same team, especially with others.
Yes, sir.
I need her to learn to read between the lines. I'm always saying that's not what I meant.
They're not mind readers, Eric. I've tried that. They're not. Just like we're not mind readers, you know, I need her to read between the lines. Yeah, that takes I think you have to have ESP or something for that. I'm not really sure that happens. What else, guys? Last chance. We're going to move on. Harold. Actually, she tells you what it is? I need her to let me think on my own. That's what I need her to do. Well, I have no means, but they're all about you. Sometimes being the pastor has its drawbacks. All right. Ephesians 5:33 says yes. Huh? Sure. Just want me to throw keys at you willy-nilly, even though you don't come to marriage class? The idea was to catch them.
Get impaled on the way.
You know which one it is?
I'll just try them all.
No, look at the ring that only has 2 keys together. Look at the ring that has 2 keys together. Right, it's the bigger one of the 2. Okay? God bless you. Okay, so we stopped in the middle of scripture. Sorry, Lord. It was Cindy's fault. So again, I say each man must love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband. So what are husbands told to do?
Love.
What are wives told to do?
Respect.
Amazing how a whole series of love and respect and a whole ministry of love and respect came out of Ephesians 5:33. What are some practical ways that you can demonstrate these respective attitudes toward your spouse? Listen, you know how to demonstrate those things. You know how to be loving. Ladies, you know how to be respectful. All we're asking is that you try. You know? If you say, well, I'm not really good at it, that's what practice is. You're going to get better at it if you put the effort into trying to do it. Do you have a comment?
I think sometimes we don't necessarily know how to respect or love the other person that we were, what I think is respectful may not be respectful
Okay.
to him. So
Okay.
sometimes I think we do have to
That's an
retrain.
excellent point. That's an excellent point. So here's your homework. Okay? Homework. Wow. Gee, I'm just trying to help. If you have a hard time understanding what love is to your wife or what respect is to your man, I have a phenomenal idea. Ask. Okay? Go home, sit down, and say in a very loving or respectful way, can you tell me what loving you or loving me or however it is, what is loving you mean to you? Or what does being respectful to you mean to you? I'm pretty sure that they're going to tell you exactly what that means to them, because that's like an open door. That's like rubbing the magic lamp and having the genie come out and saying, I'm going to give you one wish. Okay, my wish is to be loved. And the genie's going to give it to you because you're asking, how do I show that? Or you're asking, what? Has anything to do with what I think it does? No. No, the thing is, she knew exactly what I was talking about. So.
No. What if that person has a hard time opening up and telling you?
Well, then you need to get them to talk.
How?
Well, they need to work on expressing themselves. You know, he's sitting right next to you. He can hear me. Okay? He can hear me. You know? It's like you should have a private conversation with him. Okay? No, you guys need to get to the point where this is where we're talking about in the last series that we had, communication. It's not all about level 1 communication. At some point, you're going to have to go deeper in your levels of communication. The how was your day, I love you, what's for dinner, how's the kids, that stuff only lasts so long. When you become 50, okay, those conversations are meaningless. You still ask how was your day and what's for dinner because those are the top two. But you need to be able to have deeper conversation because at 50, your kids are probably pretty well grown. Okay? And so those things about, Jamie's family in kindergarten. Well, it's like, now it's more like, so-and-so needs a cosigner for their student loan. Yes.
How about Trey's birthday with mine the 25th?
Of what?
July.
He'll trade it with.
No, I already turned 50. What do you want me to turn your age?
Yeah.
No.
Trey Day.
You're in great shape for your age. How old are you going to be?
80.
80? Yeah. He's 80 years old and you're going to be married for how long now? A year and a half? How much?
8 months.
You've been married for 8 months.
Yes.
Got married at 79. What?
She keeps reminding me.
I don't want to know what prescription drug you take. Okay? That's private, and that's up to you. What you do in your own time is, that's actually, I don't want to think about it though.
Remember too that I was married 59 years after marriage.
No, I do remember that very well. So, you are a rock. You are a rock. I was going to ask you the color of your pills, but I think we're going to leave. We'll leave it at that. Let's leave it at that. Okay, so let me give you a couple of announcements. How many of you are going camping? Okay, we have about 15 families going. We have about 75 people with kids going. You are able to get up there anytime after 10 o'clock on Thursday. Okay, we are in section A. But then again, they will know that. Please do not try to take up somebody that has not been submitted on the list because they will not be allowed to enter. A list has already been sent to the park ranger. There is a gate at the entrance. No name, no ticket, no washing. Okay? So it's just not going to happen. Make sure that you bring sunblock, bug repellent, and anything else that you may need. Okay? And I just have to briefly ask, is there any questions regarding the camping trip? Yes?
Do adults have to wear a bicycle helmet?
Yes. To the best of my knowledge. Be a rebel. I don't know.
The kids have to have one for sure.
Yes, kids have to have one for sure.
The kids, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I was just gonna say to make sure that people know that there's no bonfires as far as like.
Yeah, if you're bringing up a fire pit or a barbecue, they only allow propane and charcoal. There's no real wood. Last year we couldn't even go because of the fires up there, so they don't allow anything. If they see like something burning, they will be on you like wet on rice.
And if you have charcoal, make sure it's
Yes,
completely
you can
cooled
burn
off.
charcoal for your barbecue or something like that. Yes.
So then no citronella candles or anything, right? Those spots?
No, I think citronella candles are fine. That's not like a fire. That's an enclosed, good question though. Any other questions regarding that? Okay. Also, pay attention. The 19th, a week from Saturday, a week from this coming Saturday, we have our beach day. Okay, you go down to Oceanside, you bring your kids, you bring your easy-ups, bring your barbecues or sandwiches or whatever. We have a really good time. If you haven't done it with us, you should really do it with us. Okay, we usually get down there about 9 o'clock. Some of our leaders will get there a little bit earlier and save the area, but you can only save so much. People start showing up and not everybody goes to church and has a great attitude. They will mug you if you don't let them have where they want to sit. So you need to get there kind of early, okay? Any questions regarding the beach day? Yes?
Is that near the 76?
Yes, it's, you get off the, tell you what we'll do, we'll print maps, okay? We'll have them available next Sunday. But basically, you take the 76 all the way across till you get to PCH, you make a left, and then you look for the signs that say the pier, and then it's to the left of the pier, I think it's the third lifeguard tower left of the pier if you're looking at the ocean. Okay? Yes?
We will have some information on the Fusion site regarding camp because We are going as a group, so we have to leave as a group. I understand that in the past, some people wanted to stay behind, and they've kind of done that on their own. So just understand that the reason that we have these rules is because we are going as a group. If you were going by yourself with your family, then that was different. But we are going as a church group, so we kind of are expected to arrive as a group and leave as a group. And those are the rules that have been set. So just a reminder.
No pets,
We,
you're not bringing any dogs or cats, your children are not considered pets, okay, this time, just,
and again, they allow pets, but as a group,
yeah, we're not
we
taking pets.
made that
Yes,
decision.
In regards to leaving on time, it's okay if we still use the facilities, just, I mean, because some people would still use the pools or whatever, but as long as your campsite is all cleaned up, so that, because we check it after.
yeah, we're gonna
You
have a
leave,
leadership meeting right now,
so-
between services for leaders.
But I
and
mean, are
leaders.
we able to, I mean, just for people who like,
We'll talk
want to
about-
stay?
We're gonna talk about that.
Okay. I know, but I'm just saying, she brought it up, so I was just,
No, we're gonna
Clarifying.
talk about that. Usually, as far as the spaces, as leaders, we need to make sure that the spaces are cleaned up. So, because as a group, the only reason we get into this private camp is because, someone has a membership that allows us, and so we are a reflection of that person, okay? Any other questions before I let you go? All right, did we already take offering? Should we take another one? All right, God bless you guys, have a great day. Leadership